America, and welcome to the newest episode of Dear America Live. If you are watching this right now, we need every single person to hit the share button. The more you hit the share button, the more people come in. We have a very special guest today. Mr. David J. Harris Jr. is in the house.
Oh, yeah.
David, what's up, man?
Folks.
Hey, there he is.
To be here with you guys today.
All right. David, first of all, I have to tell you the very exciting news and the public. I just got the very first editions of America 316. Hey. I'm super pumped.
Nice.
I'm super pumped, man. I can't believe it. You can go to America316.com and pre-order yours today. But David, you have been on fire the past 2 weeks. That's my friend. You know, I hate to say it, but if Black Lives Matter did anything good, in my opinion, it would be that people got to hear the message of you, my friend. How have things been the past 2 weeks for you?
They've been explosive, Graham. You know, that is the one positive, I guess. I always try to look for a silver lining in things. And this entire race baiting narrative coming from the Black Lives Matter movement, being pushed by the mainstream media, has caused people to say, hey, let me check out some other voices. So, and I've shared some videos and some messages that have just seemed to really resonate with a lot of people. So it's great to see and hear the feedback and the messages from people that just say what you shared and your message, you know, really hit me, really touched me, or encouraged me. There's a lot of people out there that are hurting right now, that are confused right now, and that don't know where they fit in and don't know if they should be trying to do this or that or the other to prove they're not a racist. And they're getting flack like crazy. So I just try to bring a message of hope, encouragement, clarity to the chaos that's out there. And it seems to be being well received right now.
Well, man, you know, we've been friends for a while now, and we're super happy for you, not only for the success of everything, but also the message that you put out there, man. We love everything you do. So we got 4,000 people watching. Hit the share button because we've got a lot to talk about today. David, first thing I want to talk to you about, since you are a black guy. I don't know if you knew this, but you are, in fact, a African-American.
This isn't funny.
So I want to talk about reverse racism or stereotypes for a moment. David, have you heard about the thug in New York City that pushed over a 92-year-old woman, causing her to hit her head on a fire hydrant? Which I don't know if people know, but at 92, falling down and hitting your head on a fire hydrant is a very big deal.
Yeah.
However, the person who did it was a black guy and the 92-year-old woman was white. But David, ironically, I haven't seen that anywhere on the mainstream news. Do you find that odd?
Yeah, I don't find it odd because that's exactly the narrative that the mainstream media does not want to expose, is that there are racists that are black. There's racists that are Hispanic. There's racists that come in all shapes, color, sizes, and creeds. But right now, because there's such a narrative hell-bent on trying to paint all white people as racist, the last thing they want to do is show a young 27 or 20-something-year-old black guy shoving, you know, literally a 92-year-old woman in the head, knocking her over. I actually showed on my show and my podcast yesterday, I showed a similar video of a gang of 3 or 4 little black guys, little black kids, no more than probably 11, 12, 13 years old, that started off slapping and then just beat this little kid and stomped on him repeatedly until he finally, and then ran into him. They took his bike, ran into him with his own bike, and then he finally saw an opening to run. And here this little kid is probably scared for his life, literally running, and one of those little black kids is running after him, catches him, and throws him to the ground. It is disgusting what's taking place. Yeah. And the problem is I'm showing videos like this, and I'm talking about this, and I have so many messages from white Americans who are my brothers and sisters. You're my brother. You guys are my brother and my sister, and I'm half white, so half my family looks like you guys. Right? The other half of my family looks like.
Are they Irish? Are they Irish? Are they Irish descent?
Yeah. Yeah, they are actually. My mom's last name is McCullum.
Hey!
So it doesn't get much more Irish than that.
Yeah.
So there's been so many messages from people that say thank you for standing up and sharing that racism hasn't just existed in this country only from whites against blacks, but there's a lot of black individuals that have been racist, that have done things like that guy did for no reason other than the color of somebody's skin. And it's the exact same hatred that was used during the KKK. It's the same hate. It's really a spiritual battle that we're in.
Yeah.
And they'll use anybody of any color, of any age, to try to bring division and death and torment to us, the American people.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I agree. There's 6,000 people watching this live stream right now. Hit the share button because I really want to break down this attack against our police. And I think that what we're talking about right now, this African-American male who is a younger guy, he's not like a 50-year-old person that pushed a 92-year-old white woman that the media is borderline silent about. And the reason I want to talk about it, David, is because reports are coming out now that this guy has been arrested over 100 times. 100. Wow. 100 times. Can you even fathom that? 100 times. So to me, as ridiculous as that is, how many repeat offenses do you have to do before they finally lock you away for good? But doesn't that, a black male who has been arrested 100 times, doesn't that kind of destroy this stereotypical rhetoric that all police hate black people and that black people, anytime a police officer stops them or talks to them, that they're in fear of their life being taken away? In fact, doesn't that in and of itself say that there are some areas that we probably should crack down a little harder in? 100 times?
Well, in defense, it's probably the court system is the breakdown.
Well, again, but I know.
Yeah.
And it's not just one tiered. And a lot of people view that wrong as well. They look at the cops and think that everything falls on the cops. David, your thoughts on this? When you hear of a younger African-American male that has been arrested 100 times, now doing something else like this, how does that make you feel? What does that make you think when you hear something like that?
Well, it hurts, Graham. You know, it saddens me. It infuriates me. It makes me think about the fact that he probably grew up without a father. Fatherlessness is the number one threat to our country of all people, of all colors right now. And that's what is literally, I think, created this generation where I don't know what the answer is, other than I believe the church, I believe believers or people that have good hearts need to try to fill the gap more for this fatherless generation. For him to be arrested 100 times and get out, you know what else that says to me? It says so much for systemic racism through our judicial system. How you let this guy out over and over and over and over and over again, and yet you want to say, oh, the judicial system is rigged and it's throwing black people in jail for a disproportionate amount of years. Thank God Donald Trump actually did something with the Prison Reform Act to bring some of that back, and we can thank Joe Biden for what he did do for the mass incarceration. But it speaks volumes. But it hurts the most because it's a lie that's permeated specifically, I think, the black community. And fatherlessness has permeated the black community in this country like no other melanin skin color of people in this country. Over 72% of black kids don't have two parents in the house. And when a child doesn't have a father, they're 5 times more likely to end up poor, 9 times more likely to drop out of high school, and 19 more times more likely to wind up a criminal or in jail. So it's an epidemic that I hope America understands, and there's no color; it's colorless. Yeah. But it hurts to see stuff like that, and the other videos that I've been seeing. It hurts. It hurts on both. It just hurts as an American. It hurts as a father, and it hurts as a believer, somebody that loves God and loves people.
Yeah, I agree, David. I want to talk to you next. I got to get into our first sponsor, but prepare yourself. I want to talk to you about black and white supremacy, and I'll get into my thought process on that here in just a minute. But we've got to get into our first sponsor. 7.7 thousand people are watching right now. Hit the share button. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, but we got to pay the bills. Tac Pack is the premier monthly subscription box for military, tactical, prepper, and Second Amendment enthusiasts for just $49.95 a month. You get at least $100 worth of gear, sometimes up to $150 and $200 worth of gear from different companies like 511, Sons of Liberty Gunworks, Mission First Tactical, Armaspec, and more. They send out AR-15 parts and accessories, CDC or everyday carry tools, knives, gear to keep you prepared for when it hits the fan. The June box was physically their biggest their biggest box, and now the upcoming July box is their heaviest. May and June both sold out early. To get signed up, go now and get over $100 worth of patriotic gear. Use the promo code Graham at checkout to receive a free extra bag of tactical goodies shipped out with your first pack. Don't wait. These are flying off. Go to TacPack.com and sign up today. That's TacPack.com. Offer code Graham.
It sure is hitting the fan too. Right
It is
now,
hitting the fan. All right, David, let's talk about black and white supremacy. And the reason that I bring that up is a little while ago, Terry Crews came under fire because he sent out a tweet and he said that the African-American community requiring the white community to do exactly what they say, how they say it, when they say it, that's not equality, that's black supremacy. Now, I'm equating that to what's going on today. Have you seen what has happened in football? And more specifically, Oklahoma State head coach Mike Gundy and now NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell is encouraging teams to sign Colin Kaepernick. Now, well, yeah, I know how you feel about that, Jake.
Unbelievable.
Now, here's the thing, and here's what a lot of people. Let's not talk about Chuba Hubbard. Basically saying, well, yeah.
Chuba?
Well, I was informed that he rushed for over 2,000 yards last year, and then I replied, yeah, in the Big 12, which doesn't count.
Oh,
But-
he's a college guy. Okay.
yeah, he's a college football player. Anyway, he said because he was so offended by a T-shirt of OAN, a news network, not Fidel Castro like their savior Colin Kaepernick wore in an interview, but I digress.
Right.
He was so offended by an OAN shirt that he was going to boycott the team. He wasn't going to play.
Oh, my gosh.
So my thought process behind that, David, and I want to know what you think, and then we'll get in Colin Kaepernick, is the generation so weak that a news network T-shirt hurts their feelings so much that they're going to put, honestly, I believe, themselves over the team? I'm not going to play because this hurt my feelings. Are we the weakest generation ever right now? What do you think?
You know, it's sad for me to have to say it, but I think that we are. And I think that fatherlessness has played a role in that. But I also believe that this whole, soy latte movement of emotion over facts,
Right.
over coddling that's taken place, over being too, sensitive to other people's feelings and emotions. Get out of here with that nonsense. I was talking to a good friend of mine, Victor Marks. He's trained special operations fighters and forces and gone into places in Iraq and Syria and literally gone into ISIS areas where there were non-permissive zones. And he said he was talking about one of my last podcasts, but he was talking about how this generation, like no other generation, is a bunch of sissies. It's like they don't have a backbone. They're so afraid of being emotionally challenged by something and not having an intellectual way to respond to it. And it's sad. And we were actually talking about the police shooting that just happened with Rashard Brooks. And the training that's necessary for some of these officers. But it's pretty despicable to me that Gundy would actually then succumb to the pressure and say, "Oh my gosh,
man, weak spine."
Oh yeah, I shouldn't have wore that shirt. I didn't know." So, and he's not our generation. So
No.
I don't know where it's people are so afraid to lose this or that or sponsors or offend somebody that if I could be really honest with you, if I can be really blunt and
Do
honest,
it.
and I know we're all believers on here.
Yeah.
Jesus was offensive.
Yes,
Absolutely.
100%.
He intentionally offended people.
Yep.
He intentionally offended people. He was on the mount and he was talking and they were all listening to his every word, leaning on him and leaning on his every word. Hadn't eaten for hours or days. At this point, when he turns to all of them, this is Jesus, this is the Son of God. He turns to all of them and says something that there's no way that any of them could understand. He said, "Unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man or drink his blood, you have no life in you." They had no way to comprehend that. None of them had any way whatsoever to comprehend that. And it says from that moment on, many of them were offended and they left. They turned and walked away.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, what did the disciples do? He said, "Are you also going to be offended?" And they said, "We don't understand, but we're going to trust and believe you." They were willing to still work it out. I just threw that in there because even Christians need to understand that sometimes it's okay to be offensive in order to try to reveal what's going on underneath.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if somebody feels like, "Oh, I'm offended because you're wearing this shirt or that," get out of here with that nonsense. It's weakness. It's not It's not something that we need to succumb to the pressure. We need more people with backbones
Yeah.
that are willing to put their money where their mouth is and not worry about what money may go out of their pockets because they're actually being courageous enough to stand up for what they believe in.
Yep.
Sure.
Alyssa, what do you think?
Well, the other side of the coin that I would say is, do you think it's also because right now this is trending, this is popular, so everyone is looking for something, so they get fame, they get relevance, they get to be in the media because all they have to do is say, well, I'm offended by that. I'm offended by that OAN, or I'm offended by this. And so literally we've created a society where people are looking to destroy a statue or to say this offended me because then we are giving them airtime.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, go ahead, Jay.
I also think a lot of it's white guilt. And the term racist, it's like with Nazi. It's like once you start using these terms, the last thing you want to do is, it's like, I'm not a Nazi. Like, I'll do whatever I have to do for you to
Clear my name of
believe
this.
me that I'm not a Nazi or I'm
Right.
not a racist. So
Right.
I'll take the shirt off if that's what I need to do.
Well, let me tell you what I think is racist. So now going back to Colin Kaepernick. So Roger Goodell has just come out that he is encouraging NFL teams to sign Colin Kaepernick. Now, let's remove emotion.
Unbelievable.
Let's remove emotion for a moment and let's take people back to around, what was it, 2016 when all this originally started. Colin Kaepernick, before he initially sat for the national anthem, he was a backup quarterback. Okay, he got benched.
Right.
All right.
No one knew who he was.
Well, no,
until this.
people.
I
Well,
didn't.
people knew. Well, you're right. Non-sports people didn't know
I love
who he
football. How
was. You
dare
don't
you.
like
How
pro
dare you.
football.
Thank you.
Anyway, all right. Back to the point. The point is, Colin Kaepernick got benched. All right. Plain and simple. Colin Kaepernick was on his way out of the NFL anyway. Because you can only ride the bench for so long before
Yep.
eventually they draft somebody else to come in and then you don't
Yep.
have a job. All right. That's the non-emotional thing that happened. Then he knelt for the anthem and then blah, 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 blah. He became Malcolm X and, the rest is history. Anyway, the point is, I think it's racist to now say that he's encouraging, but if you don't think Roger Goodell is going to say somebody's got to sign Kaepernick before the season starts,
Right.
you are insane. But they're not doing it because of his talent. They're doing it
Right.
because of the
Right.
color of his
Skin
skin.
color.
That's why they're
And
doing
his
it.
mission
Or his
Yes,
movement,
and his
yeah.
mission.
and what
Is-
he represents.
Is that not racist? That because of the color of someone's skin,
Right.
you're giving them something that they really aren't talented enough to get? I mean, am I crazy, David?
No, you're not crazy at all. It's the same with affirmative action.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
that was actually detrimental to the black community, giving somebody the ability to work in a job where they may not have had the actual skill sets necessary. It undermines the individual themselves. You know, it undermines their own talent, their own courage. They get in over their head. They can't perform. It undermines the ability for the business or the school or whatever job that they got to actually be the best productive aspect of whatever service that they're providing. It's not. We can't force integration, and that's basically what they've done. What they're suggesting, and I'm hearing it from a lot of different sides, and I'm hearing it from even Christians that I'm like, you've got a spiritual connection to God, and you're talking about forced integration, really? I mean, to me, it just goes back to the fact that this is absolutely a spiritual battle that we're in.
Yeah.
And there's
I
so many
agree.
people that are deceived in and out of the church and don't know what the heck they're doing. But it's all about division, and it's all about trying to undermine, I think, ultimately this president's administration, because as many things as they can attach to being racist, they're just going to turn around and slam it with the president.
Yeah. So one more question, and then we gotta move on a little bit here. And everyone listening right now, comment below and let me know what you think about this
Yes.
cancel culture going on with Domino's. You had Paw Patrol, Legos, now Aunt Jemima.
Jemima.
So
Aunt
crazy.
Jemima.
Now they've already
Oh,
done
my
it within
gosh.
12
Leave
hours.
Aunt Jemima alone.
I know, that's
Yeah.
what I said. No.
But within 12 hours, now they're going after Uncle Ben and Mrs. Butterworth.
They're going to turn
All
it
right.
into Aunt Karen.
All right.
Oh,
So,
and you had the country music,
my God.
Lady Annabella.
Lady Annabellum has now changed their name to Lady
like
A.
the thing to do.
Look, man,
Yeah.
look,
Come on.
David. Okay, and this is something that I'll sit here and I'll go. You know what? I'm a white guy. Okay, David,
That's
as a
true.
black man in America, does Aunt Jemima on the front of pancake mix and syrup offend you and remind you of an oppressive time of slavery that we just need to get rid of it?
No, it reminds me of some good pancakes.
That's what me too.
Pancakes.
Some
It
good
tastes
memories.
good. You like the syrup when you're growing up. You make a little hole in the middle of your pancakes. You put the
Right.
syrup in the
Drown it
middle,
out.
then you dip your pancakes in it.
Yep.
You know, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely insane. And
David-
if we allow them to continue to strip away pieces of history and culture,
Yes.
again, you're doomed to repeat it if you don't remember what you went through. And
Amen.
I think ultimately that's what they're hoping. But it's ridiculous.
I mean, what else? Are they going to take the Tyler Perry movies away too?
White chicks.
Isn't that pretty
Yes.
racist?
Well, what about every
Yeah,
movie?
absolutely.
What about every movie that was a predominant black cast that portrayed during times of slavery? Shouldn't we pull those as well? I mean, if
Yeah.
we're not allowed to have any kind of anything that reminds of a time that is no more, then doesn't it work both ways?
It's ridiculous.
Should.
I mean, anyway, all right.
Yeah.
Next,
And in movies, every movie that Harvey Weinstein ever had anything to do with should
yes,
be yanked.
every
Yeah.
single one of
Period.
them.
That's
yes,
a lot.
100%. Yeah, it's a lot of movies. All right. Next, I want to talk about the country of CHOP, the country of CHOP. But
Get it
before I
right.
do that, let's get into our next sponsor. So, speaking of CHOP and the fact that people have lost their minds, and you just obviously can't rely on anybody but yourself. You need to protect your family
Yes.
and yourself with the Second Amendment. So go right now to our good friends at redarrowweapons.com. If you go today and the rest of this month, there is a 5% off fully assembled firearms plus free shipping discount going on until the end of this month. All you got to do is go to redarrowweapons.com, find the weapon you want, purchase it with the code GRAHAM5 and get your discount today. Protect yourself and your family with our God-given rights of the Second Amendment. Go now, redarrowweapons.com. All right, back into it. David, let's talk about this new country that's in America. Let's talk about the fact that apparently 6 blocks in Seattle is no longer Seattle, and it is a utopian society where everyone gets along and everybody loves each other.
The Garden
and
of Eden, I have
Yes,
heard
the
it
garden.
called.
It's the Garden of Eden. They even have a garden.
Well, they did until the
they
homeless-
did until the homeless people destroyed it.
Ransacked it.
Tragic.
Is it just me, or is seceding from America one of those things that it's just not one of those easy things that you're supposed to do? What do you think about what's going on in Seattle, David?
Well, I think it's interesting that one of the first things that they did was they enacted they put up a border.
Yeah.
They wanted to
Yeah.
Racists.
They've got their own police. Yeah, exactly. They've got their own police force dressed in these crazy costumes. I don't even know who these people are. They're asking for donations because they don't know how to, fend for themselves and supply their own stuff. They're not in there growing anything. But the negatives, there's so many negatives to this. I mean, this is setting a precedence to allow the mayor to allow this to take place, where a police precinct has been locked down and they're shut down. The amounts of the police chief on the same day that Mayor Durkin said that it's like a summer of love. The chief of police came out and said rapes have gone up, assaults have gone up, violent acts have gone up
Against all
it's
colors
taking
and
3
races, by
times.
the way.
Yeah, everybody. And now we're hearing that there's actually rapes that are taking place inside of CHAZ as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that and again, to me, this points that these Democrats do not care about us, the American people. These Democrat politicians that are allowing these lockdown orders to happen, the extension of COVID-19, so many areas are still on lockdown. Now they're giving areas, blocks, city blocks, where there's businesses in there, not just big box stores, but also small businesses and service industry businesses. They're allowing them to be shut down. They've taken over a police station. They're putting all the neighbors in harm's way with having to deal with this. They don't care. It says to me that they just don't care. They really hope, I believe, that the president does take action, sends in the National Guard, and then they'll turn around and call him a tyrant. That's what they want. But they don't care about the people that are hurt in the process.
No, I agree.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I agree. And again, I do not understand how we're in a situation in America where a group of people can not just like claim land that nobody's got houses or businesses on and say we're just going to live here.
Right.
But they've taken over areas that people have businesses.
Yeah.
And they're just like, no, this is ours now. No, no, that's not how it works. And we have no penalties for this.
Well, you remember when
nothing?
when Texas was talking about seceding, like years back, the left
2012
went
or whatever.
absolute nuts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But now it's perfectly fine, David. So how dare you tell these people that they can't just do whatever they want whenever they want to do it, and they can't rape and pillage people all the time? How dare us have the audacity as fascist to tell them that they can't do whatever they want to do? It's crazy to me.
I think they're overplaying their hand. Big time.
Yeah.
You know, they're overplaying their hand. Americans are seeing this. They're watching how these Democrat politicians are reacting, responding, you know, telling us we can't go to funerals. I've seen so many messages from people that said they couldn't go attend a funeral because of the lockdown order. And now it's okay to be out in the streets protesting, rioting in the thousands of people.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just insane. They've overplayed their hand. The silent majority is growing in this country because the gap between what our president stands for and what the Democrats stand for is becoming very clearly larger and bigger, and the American people, I think, are understanding exactly what's at stake. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
They also
silver lining.
They also realize, we realize that they don't have the, I guess, cojones to actually stand up, because they changed the name from CHAZ, Autonomous Zone, to what kind of protest?
I don't know. I
it's
lost
just a protest
interest after,
now.
Yeah,
So
after
they're
they
basically
changed the name.
saying,
it's CHOP now.
we're just protesting. We're not trying to be fully autonomous.
Jeez, it's ridiculous.
Because they can't be, and they realize that.
So
Right.
ridiculous.
All right, so there are 8.6 thousand people watching right now. We need each and every one of you to do us a favor and hit the share button, because after this, I got to get into another sponsor, but
Let's read some comments.
I got fact checked on Facebook, and I want to talk about it here in
Fact
just
check.
a
Oh, I did
little
too.
bit. Did you get fact checked too?
You too?
Okay. All right. But,
I did.
But
I
before,
did, yeah.
all right, I'll be interested to hear which one yours was. But before we get into that, let's talk about Raycon. David, do you like earbuds when you work out? Do you work out with earbuds?
I use big headphones.
You
but
use
I
the
love
big
to
old
listen to music
headphones?
while I'm working out.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
right.
I like the big
All
old
right.
headphones, lots of bass.
All right, we use the big headphones here, but I'm an earbud kind of guy, and that's why I choose Raycon. Whether you're working from home or working on your fitness, you want what you're listening to be what you're actually listening to, not what everybody else is listening to. Everyone needs a great pair of wireless earbuds, but before you go dropping hundreds of dollars on a pair, you need to check out wireless earbuds from Raycon. You already know Raycon earbuds start at about half the price of any other premium wireless earbuds on the market that sound just as amazing as other top audio brands. Their newest model, the Everyday E25 earbuds, are the best ones yet, with 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design. Raycon is a wireless earbuds are so comfortable, perfect for conference calls or binging podcasts like this one or David's. Anyway, unlike some of your other wireless options, Raycon earbuds are both stylish and discreet. Now's the time to get the latest and greatest from Raycon. Get 15% off your order at buyraycon.com/Graham. That's buyraycon.com/Graham for 15% off Raycon wireless earbuds. Buyraycon.com/Graham.
They're perfect for working out in, man.
Yes, they
Yeah.
are. All right, David, I got
I'll have
fact
to
check.
try them. I'll have to try them.
You should
They
try
are.
them.
They're
You should
really
try them.
nice.
They're good folks. All right, so I got fact checked, and I got the notification today. David, did you see my video about the Act Blue, and you go to Black Lives Matter and you click on it, it takes you to Act Blue, and then they fundraise. and all
I've
that
seen.
stuff.
Yeah, I think I've seen yours. I know I shared a video similar to that.
All right.
I shared an article on the same thing. I got fact checked over the same thing.
Did
Oh,
you?
you
Oh,
did
the same
too?
one? Oh, okay. All right. So my fact check claims that I said, you know how it says the primary claim in the video?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
said that
Yeah.
my primary claim, and I'm fighting this, by the way. I've disputed it. It says that my primary claim was, I said that donations to Black Lives Matter are directly donated to DNC from Act Blue, indicating that I said all the money donated through Black Lives Matter get donated to the DNC. That's not what I said.
Yeah.
What I said was, I find it weird that Black Lives Matter, a charity organization, uses a third party that is a DNC agended party.
Right.
I found that weird. And then I also said that it is known throughout all charities that any unclaimed money through the system, they have the option to use as they see fit. And it's awful ironic that their top 3 contributions in 2020 were Bernie 2020, Biden for president, and Warren for president. Okay, I did not say that every single dollar donated to Black Lives Matter goes to the DNC. That's not what I said. That's what you think I said, but that's not what I said. So I'm disputing it. And I'm basically going to make the Associated Press, because that's who fact checked me, prove to me that all the unclaimed money and the 4% collected by Act Blue, which is legally mandated to be the fundraiser, show me that that doesn't directly go to the DNC. Show it to me. Prove it. Yeah. Prove it on your end. Fact check yourself. And I find that interesting. David, do you find this hypocritical that they're fact checking us, but yet Biden can clip videos of the president and left can do whatever they want, it seems?
Well, it's obviously a hot button issue for them, because I shared the video that was shared on Instagram.
That's where I saw it. That's where I saw it was from you.
Yeah, they took it down off of Instagram, but I had an article. One of my writers ran an article and wasn't as crisp and precise as far as where they were sharing. They made the jumps as you did in your video, that's what happens to the unclaimed money, and we don't even know how much of it's unclaimed. Literally, BLM could unclaim all of it. They could not claim any of it intentionally, just to know that that's going to then go to Act Blue, and then Act Blue is going to disperse it however they see fit. So they hit me with a fact check for that as well. I know they hit Candace with a fact check for that as well. Yeah. A lot of people got hit, which means it's a hot button issue, which means we need to get to the bottom of it. Yep. I hope Tom Fitton gets to the bottom of it. I'm pretty sure he's on the trail.
Judicial Watch.
Yeah, Judicial Watch is amazing. But it's big tech is, they're all about censorship. They're all about censorship bias. I've got several friends of mine that are actually going to be joining a lawsuit to do a mass action suit against big tech. A good friend of mine had 25 million followers across several Facebook pages that he built organically and was generating $300,000 plus a month from the ad traffic from his websites.
No big
and
deal.
Facebook unpublished. This is in 2012. Wow. Facebook unpublished. He was bigger than BuzzFeed at that time.
Wow.
Facebook unpublished 14 million of his people off of his pages and said it was because of the content. Then they turned around and they actually said, if you sell these pages to this other company, which was one of his competitors, they said that we'll republish the pages. So they deemed his content not appropriate. Yet when he sold the pages for pennies on the dollar, they republished the same pages. He's got attorneys on this that have it looks like a green light all the way to the end to this to actually finally break CDA's immunity that the big tech and Facebook uses to hide behind their ability that they do this to us, to you, to me, to other conservatives. They do it to pretty much anybody they want, and they just hide behind their whole CDA immunity and say, well, we can't be touched. And unfortunately, most of the courts have held that up. But this case is actually got some real grit. So afterwards, we'll talk about it because it's something that I think it has the potential to truly change the ability for big tech to do this kind of crap to us.
Yeah. And also full transparency for the audience, because I realize that unless you do what we do, this is kind of like almost like voodoo type stuff. Like what? What? It's extremely difficult to dispute this stuff. So it's super easy for them to slap this is fact check false on your page. It's super easy for them. It's literally a click of the button. But to dispute it, you have to research, you have to go find it, because they don't notify you directly. Like the only reason I found out was because somebody called me. They're like, hey, did you know that you got fact checked? No, I didn't know I got fact checked. They didn't even tell me. Facebook did not tell me. And it says in the bylaws of Facebook that you have a week to dispute it between the time that they fact check it. So I find that ironic that I didn't get notified. Right. All right. So anyway, so you go through there, you figure out that they've got a little form that you got to fill out, but then you have to find the contact information for the independent fact-checking party. You can't just dispute it in Facebook. So you have to become like your own detective to even figure out how to dispute this stuff. And then you've got to dispute it with the very people that just called you a liar. which makes no sense.
Right.
Yeah.
It would seem like you'd have to dispute it with Facebook, and then Facebook could be the ref. No, you got to dispute it with the people that just said you're lying. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's absolutely
the other
insane. Go ahead.
The other interesting thing is that Facebook says they put everything on the fact checkers, right? They say, well, we leave it up to the fact checkers. They're independent, and then whatever they say goes. The problem with that is who pays the fact checkers?
Yeah, who hires them? Yeah.
Yep.
Facebook.
Exactly.
Facebook pays the fact checkers.
Yeah.
So they can't pay a company to be an independent, and then actually Facebook literally is the company that sends the questionable content to the fact checkers in the first place.
Yeah.
And the fact checkers do their thing and then send it back to us. It's like, if this is not stopped, that's why I'm willing to put it all on the line for this lawsuit. If it's not stopped, there's nothing stopping them from completely controlling all of the traffic that all of us see and censoring any of us at any time for any reason if it's not changed. The president signed that executive order against Facebook, big tech censorship. Bill Barr used some of the specific verbiage. It's actually in Jason's case, talking about it's the interpretation of CDA immunity that needs to be clarified, because right now they're just giving carte blanche, like they can pretty much do what they want and get away with it.
Yeah.
Think about how scary that is for the next generation.
Oh,
If
terrifying.
even in 5 and 10 years, especially with a current election like we've got this year, it is drastically alarming that most people get their news and their information from big tech companies that have the ability to completely shape the narrative that we, the viewers, get.
Yep. And also, I love how Facebook is fact checking to try to not have bias, but yet I got fact checked by the Associated Press, which is definitely not a center right or center left organization. Is Fox News fact checking people? Is Breitbart fact checking people? Is Conservative Review fact checking people? No. I'd be willing to bet that they don't have that contract. But I digress. All right. Go ahead.
I got a question. How many times has CNN been fact checked?
Yes.
MSNBC. They're telling lies all the time.
Oh,
I guarantee
it's
you they
crazy.
haven't had their pages threatened. They haven't gotten any of those fact checks from anybody. It's ridiculous.
I agree. All right, so the last thing that we want to talk about before we try to get into a couple comments before we run out of time, David, is I want to talk about COVID-19 apparently making a resurgence now that Trump is having rallies. But before we get into that, let's get into our final sponsor for the episode. We the People Holsters is a company that's been with us since the very beginning. Record numbers of people are buying guns and ammunition for the first time. If you are one of them, please be safe. And please holster that new handgun in a We the People holster. Starting just $39, We the People holsters are custom designed to fit your firearm perfectly and made right here in the USA. They have thousands of options to choose from, like the Constitution, Blue Lives Matter, etc., etc. Now is the time to support American companies. Go to wethepeopleholsters.com/Graham to get yours. Every holster ships free and comes with a lifetime guarantee. Get an additional $10 off with the offer code GRAHAM. Satisfaction is guaranteed. If it's not a perfect fit, send it back for a total refund. Go to wethepeopleholsters.com/Graham. wethepeopleholsters.com/Graham. Offer code Graham. All right, David. A week ago, the World Health Organization comes out. I made a video on this. World Health Organization comes out and says, you know, that whole reason that we had to cripple our economy, the whole reason that we had to stay locked in our houses for 3 months, the whole reason that millions of Americans are out of work, thousands of small businesses have closed, and we've added almost $3 trillion in debt was asymptomatic spread of the virus. Yep. Now they come out and say, oh, that's not real. That was our bad. Our bad. That's not a real thing. I said in that video over a week ago, I said, watch. As soon as the president gets ready to have rallies again, all of a sudden, COVID-19 is going to become a big deal. And that is exactly what is going on. David, have you ever seen the hypocrisy be bigger than it is in 2020?
More blatant.
It is huge. It is blatant, Jake. You're right. And it's, you know, they're being exposed. I mean, there's no way that any of these middle of the road independents or more central centrist Democrats, there's no way they can't see the hypocrisy. There's no way they can't see that this is absolutely all about trying to shut down the momentum that President Trump was gaining. We can't forget that just a few months ago, we had the greatest economy this country's ever seen, lowest black unemployment in history, lowest Hispanic unemployment in history, lowest unemployment for women in 50 plus years, jobs coming back from overseas to the United States, manufacturing jobs, good paying jobs booming in this country. And I mean, it's a rabbit hole as far as you know, how far down you want to go with the entire COVID-19 thing. But I 100% believe that it was an engineered virus. It didn't come from somebody eating some bat soup or something like that. It was an engineered virus. I 100% believe that it didn't. Well, again, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? It didn't come from the meat market. Was it intentionally released or accidentally? That's where you got to make your own decision. Yeah. But the point is, for it to hit the way it did, when it did, and then for the World Health Organization to support communist China and actually say, oh, you don't need to shut down travel from China. People don't give the president enough credit. He shut down travel from China in January 21st, I believe. If he had not have done that, then we would have seen 100 times worse cases of people with active symptoms ravaging our country. Yeah. But again, you got to go down to, I'm going to be at the Trump rally this Saturday in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yep. I know there's been over 1 million people. I think you're going to be there. I'm going to see you there.
Yeah. Well, we're looking into it.
Yeah.
Well, anything I can do to help, my brother.
Yeah. Well,
I've got
a million tickets.
Campaign,
a million tickets have been done. Keep going. I didn't mean to cut you off.
So no, it's just Americans we've been pent up. If you're not just listening to the mainstream media's Kool-Aid, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, then you're hearing more truth than lies, and that's really ultimately, unfortunately, what most people are hearing. They just don't understand that's what they're hearing from the mainstream media. But they're trying to shut down the momentum. They don't want this president to win. They want America to blame this president for the shutdown, for the economy, for everything. Meanwhile, he's just trying to do what he can to get us back to work. But I think it just proves that the World Health Organization are absolutely hypocrites. And Donald Trump was 110% right to say we need to defund them. Correct. We need to start something different.
Correct. All right. So let's get into some comments here. I completely agree, David, with everything you said. So comment below right now. What we see is a little bit delayed, but comment below right now. We're going to try to answer some questions for just a minute. So the first one I saw, and we're going to do a round table. Alyssa, we're going to start with you,
I don't do
Jake, me, and then David. All right. This person said it appears that the left and the mainstream media want COVID-19 to make a comeback, either real or fake. Alyssa, what do you think?
Absolutely, I agree. I mean, have you not seen the memes, literally, of pictures of all the rioters, of all the protests, even CHAZ? No one's social distancing, no one's wearing masks, but yet the second President Trump rally comes up, it's, oh, nope, COVID's bad. And then Fauci came on The View saying, this may not be good. It's coming back. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's like you said, it's so in your face.
Deep state.
I don't understand how people truly are not seeing the hypocrisy, and it gets very frustrating for me. But go ahead, Jake.
Jake, what's the conspiracy side of it?
Initially, before this happened, it was Trump's winning in a landslide unless something miraculous or the opposite of that happens with the economy.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Boom, the economy's dead. I'm one of those people who doesn't really necessarily believe all the numbers. Like, I think they're padding the numbers a little bit, so it's probably way less than we think. So for the Democrats, if that's the case, it's like, sure, shut it down again. We need to make sure this economy doesn't, get out of debt basically before the election. It's the number one thing, especially how voters vote. It's if you have a job, money, that kind of a thing. So yeah, I think it's all a little bit made up. The numbers are inflated, so they'd be happy for it to come back for sure.
Well, for me, and David, we're fixing to get to you. For me, I find it interesting that when conservative Americans started fighting back against the lockdowns, fighting for our rights as Americans, it was viewed as this horrific thing, and we were grandma killers and all this stuff. And now all of a sudden that Black Lives Matter, the agenda is making a resurgence. Now it's completely okay for people to be out protesting for equality and protesting or rioting for their rights. That's completely okay.
Right.
To me, that shows a complete and total hypocrisy in the entire thing. There's either a freaking pandemic or there's not.
Right.
It doesn't matter what you claim that you're standing for. If this is an existential threat against humanity, it either is or it isn't. If this was an existential threat, nobody would give a crap about Black Lives Matter right now. They would be like, I don't know if you know,
the world's ending.
The world is ending right now. We've got other things. We've got other things going on. And so to me, it just shows that every single bit of it is an absolute lie. David, what about you?
Well, you can go down, you can look at any of those things. They're all accurate. The hypocrisy is real. They're trying to shut down the momentum. But here's the real question for anybody out there that may not know. And I've had several people on my podcast. If you haven't subscribed to my podcast yet, you're listening, check it out. David J. Harris Jr. Shameless plug, David J. Harris Jr.
Good. I love your podcast.
Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you. I've had doctors on my podcast that have shared the stories, the news, the actual facts, the data that they've got to actually prove in those areas. Kern County, Dr. Dan Erickson has 8 medical facilities, and he said they're empty. And he said the amount of people that they were doing testing on to see who had COVID, there was more people that had the antibodies, which meant they had COVID and it was nothing else. It wasn't anything serious. Then the numbers actually were being reported. So there's a lot of information out there to actually show and prove that this thing has been inflated for an agenda. But here's the final question. Here's my question. Who do you want at the helm of this country to get this country back on its feet and beyond? Mm-hmm. Do you want to go back to a career politician like Joe Biden and whoever his VP pick is? Because I don't think Joe will make it past 3 months. If he was to somehow miraculously win the presidency, he'll step down and then America will get left with a VP that nobody actually even voted for or wanted. Yep. So do you want to trust the future of our country to career politicians that we don't even know who might become the VP and who would be the president? Or do you want to trust the future of this country with a president with a proven track record of creating the greatest economy that we've seen ever, and doing all that while his hands were tied behind his back with a House that didn't want to give him the support that he needed? Yeah. I want to put my bet on Donald Trump and his administration.
Yeah. All right. So a really good question that has come up is somebody said, how do you guys feel about Nancy Pelosi giving a folded American flag to George Floyd's family?
Disgusting.
I think it's incredibly disrespectful.
All right. So I will claim that 99% sure that the folded flag is solely for representation of people in the service, i.e. military, fire department, police, things like that. I haven't read the laws that said it can't be given to somebody.
Even if you didn't, society knows that is what that flag is for.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't written out. Sorry, that makes me very
hold on.
I am.
But sometimes it's about the respect of things, okay? Now, what happened to George Floyd was horrible. I made a video about it. Everybody knows how I feel about that one incident that we're talking about in question, the George Floyd murder. However, the folded flag has always represented the death of someone in service in some way, shape, form, or fashion. How is George Floyd's death, if we're removing the emotion, we're just talking straight, this is what happened, this didn't happen. How is George Floyd's death the result of some kind of service towards something? Okay,
yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm asking. As horrific as it was, I'm not taking away the fact that what happened to George Floyd is wrong. I'm not taking that away. But George Floyd did not die wearing a uniform of military or first responder. You see what I'm saying?
Nor had he ever.
Okay, and that's another thing too. If he was prior service or something, maybe I could see it. Let's go down the line.
Well, actually, I was going to ask David a question because I want to know what you think, David, because I know pretty much everybody here thinks.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's just get your thoughts.
Well, no, I just want to know what you think or why she would do that, knowing what that represented. Why do you feel that she would give a folded flag?
The same reason she wore that African garb around her neck, and all the other Democrats did the same thing because they're pandering. They want to pander as much. They know they're losing. They know they're losing the black vote, especially. They're losing a lot of votes, period. But they're willing to do anything, sell out anything, disrespect anything in order to try to win some votes. And so I think that she was it's another option, an opportunity for her to try to pander, to try to say, how can I get a great photo op? They want to bash the president for photo ops when he's holding a Bible in front of a church that had just burned. They want to bash the president, but then you want to go give an American flag to an individual that died at the hands of a crooked cop.
Yeah.
The two don't jive. They don't mix. So it's just more pandering and far reaching from the liberal left, these Democrats in office that we've continued to just see from them.
I agree.
That's my
I agree.
It's no surprise either. I mean, her followers, when she ripped up the speech, you know, the garb, everything, the Democrats don't care. The Democrat followers don't care. So.
No, I agree completely. All right, so that's going to end this episode. You know, we're running short on time. There's a lot going on, ladies and gentlemen. There's going to be plenty more to talk about, and we haven't even got into the presidential debates yet in our country, which is going to be something extraordinary. David, thank you so much for hopping on, man. I know we're friends. I know we're friends, but I know how busy you are, and I appreciate it. Where can people living under a rock that don't know where you are or who you are, where can they find you?
David J. Harris Jr. is my handle on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. My website is davidharrisjr.com. And welcome to the author ranks, brother. It's amazing that you got your book out. I can't wait for mine. You can get those that haven't already can get my book, Why I Couldn't Stay Silent, at my website, davidharrisjr.com. And I can't wait to read your book, brother. I'll do a nice promo for it when I get it.
I appreciate it, brother. All right, Alyssa, where can they find you?
Alyssa Allen on Instagram and Facebook. And the newest episode of Hey America came out yesterday, and we had Mike the Cop answering the tough questions on there.
Yep. Jake, where can they find you?
Find me on Instagram at producer_Jake.
All right. And, of course, I'm Graham Allen. As always, if you don't know that, that's really weird because you're watching this show. Make sure to do us a favor and share this. My book is available at America316.com. And go get David's Why I Couldn't Stay Silent and go check out his podcast. That's all we have for this episode, and we'll see you all again next time.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye. God bless.